and your final question here is, how can we make a difference for the good of all concerned? And this is the question I like most in your whole paragraph. How we can make a difference for the good of all concerned is by the refinement and purification of ourselves, to be the example, be the change you want to see in others, as Gandhi so beautifully said. But be an example. That's the best teaching you can give your children. That's the best teaching you can give anyone who observes you. It's easy to be a soapbox preacher. It's easy to be a lobbyist. It's easy to have a loud mouth and a big fist and a loud gavel. But, you know, the one with the biggest stick doesn't always win. The one wielding the purest heart is the one who ultimately wins. And that makes, even though it may not seem so, in the long run, in the scheme of things, the grand scheme of things, the pure heart has a much greater impact on the world and all its inhabitants than all the screaming and yelling and pounding and soapbox preaching. Be a fine example. Purify yourself and be an example, because there are many, many, many more eyes and ears watching you and listening to you than you could ever imagine. And I'm not talking about the ones who are in your physical proximity. Remember, at the level of the absolute, we're all one. There's one person on the planet, 7 billion aspects of it. But there's one person on the planet. Our consciousness is, every person's consciousness is inextricably woven and tethered into every other consciousness, including all the animals, all the plants, all the minerals, all the people. Not only woven, but actually one with. So everything you do to uplift, to purify, and better yourself as a human being is doing it for every single person on the planet at some incremental level, large or small, or in between. Literally, physically, literally, palpably, everything you purify in yourself is raising the light quotient of every single person on the planet, is purifying every single person on the planet. And that's why I can prove that by showing you certain individuals, well, literally every individual, anyone who's ever come to train with me, after a certain amount of time committing to their self-purification, to learning of their inauthentic ways and practices, of the distorted beliefs, non-loving ways, and learning the truth and how to act and serve and be in love, and to start transforming their thoughts, feelings, words, and deeds, over a certain amount of time, it usually takes a couple of years, usually minimum, what happens in 100% of the cases, if they stay long enough and are truly dedicated to purifying themselves, every single person has come and spoken vociferously, profusely, about how magic and wonderment and miraculous things happen and begin happening to their immediate family, the parents, their siblings, their best friends, their roommates, their co-workers, because that light is coming into them as they purify and heal and focus on purifying, and it's spilling out of them and radiating, emanating out, and blessing everyone around them. I've often said, and I'll say it again now, there is the single greatest contribution to mankind, to the evolution of the species, and to the Godhead, is the liberation of a soul. Nothing raises the light quotient on this planet more than just one soul being liberated. I mean, if you could see energetically what it does, it's like a supernova imploding inside the planet and inside the whole consciousness of the species, the liberation of one soul. You know, and when you think in terms of the numbers, how few liberated, truly liberated, God-realized beings there are on the planet. I mean, right now it's around 1 in 15 million people, which is a lot of people, but it's not a lot when you think in terms of percentages. And yet, those liberated beings are holding the light grid on this planet. I mean, if the God-realized beings were not on this planet, it would already be incinerated. It would already be a charcoal, like an asteroid hurling through space. So they're holding that God vibration on the planet. And every time another person becomes liberated and merges into God consciousness, the light quotient expands and expands and pulls everyone's vibration and consciousness up with it. Beyond measure, beyond measure. And there's no event in the human spectrum or in the physical plane that does the same thing. Nothing, nowhere to be found. So it is, as my master used to always say, it is the great work. the perfection of the self, the purification, the liberation, the perfection of the self is the great work, the single greatest gift to humanity, and the single greatest gift you can give your Lord God and Creator.